Shalom and welcome to the Parasha Pod. I'm Rav Mordechai Rosenberg here with Rav Menachem Leibtag, and we are talking Torah together. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, it's time to learn.
In Parashat Vayeshev, we're sitting down.
Very
outdoors.
Good. Wonderful. Thank you. All right, so one of the big questions on this Parasha is around the sale of Yosef by the brothers. Yosef gets sold by his brothers. They're jealous of him.
Not just selling, they wanted to kill the guy.
They want to kill him. They treat him really terribly. And I know we've been speaking about the possibility that we don't necessarily treat our avot and imahot as
saints.
But still, I mean, this is pretty horrific behavior. Attempting to kill their brother, then selling him as a slave. It seems really not the sort of behavior we would expect from these characters that end up being the parents of the tribes. So what's going on over here?
Okay. I'm going to work backwards maybe. And if you remember, every holiday, the nation brings a korban, called a korban tzibur. And every day we bring the korban tamid and olah, a lamb. But on the holidays, we bring a whole assortment of burnt offerings. And we always add a sin offering called a korban chatat.
Right.
But whenever the nation brings a sin offering, it's always the same animal. Remember what it is? Sir izim echad chatat. It's on our Musa prayers.
So hold on. That seir is only for a communal sin offering. Right?
Now, whenever the community, the tzibur, brings a holiday offering called the korban musaf, the extra, in addition to the very complicated musaf that has all different kinds of animals, we bring a sir izim echad chatat. Remember, we bring the flour offering and usir lachaper.
Right.
It's always a goat, and on Yom Kippur, once a year, wool. That goat goes all the way indoors. But the korban chatat of the tzibur of the nation.
So you're referring to the seir that's LaHashem that goes.
The seir LaHashem that goes on Yom Kippur, one indoors, one outdoors.
Right. That's the seir LaHashem.
Seir LaHashem and seir LaHashem, but it's always a seir.
And that is a sin offering. That's it.
It's always a chatat. It's the chatat.
Right.
Now, just by chance in our story, the symbol of the sin of the brothers is when they take Yosef's coat. Remember, by shchetu sirizim, they shech the seir and they dip his coat in blood. The way I look at it, I need the story to understand the meaning of that korban, because I call it what I like to call it. There's always good reasons for sinat chinam. There's always good reasons for baseless hatred, and this week's parsha is a great example because everyone I think is doing the right thing. There's evil people who are evil and do evil things. They know they're evil. That's the simple way.
Right.
The most dangerous parts are when people think they're doing something good and they do terrible things, even though they think they're doing the right thing.
Right. Rabbi Sachs called it altruistic evil.
Yeah. Because the evil person, we think they're evil, but the person himself thinks he's doing the right thing.
Right.
But the other way of looking at it, no good deed goes unpunished, even when people try to do good. So how can we understand what they're up to?
Right. How did they think that they're doing something good?
Yeah. So I want to begin, maybe ask you a question. What's everyone assuming? Because remember, they don't have Chumash, so we know how the story ends. But it's very confusing, this whole process of being chosen and who's going to be chosen. We talked about that in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's not clear to our ancestors who's the chosen one. Avram thought all his children, then God says only Yitzchak. Yitzchak thought both children, and it's only Yaakov. What should Yaakov be thinking? But there's been one precedent that whenever there's this chosen...
He might be thinking all his children, or maybe
some, but
maybe he's thinking only one.
Yeah. But let's go last week, 2 weeks to Marat Machpelah. If you've ever visited, there's one patriarch, one matriarch. Right? There's called Machpelah. Remember, one of the reasons there's Zugot, there's pairs there. And I want to assume that everyone is assuming there's only room for one matriarch for patriarch.
Right.
Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Avram had many wives, only Sarah. Yitzchak, only one wife. Now, it makes sense that everyone thinks there's room for one matriarch. If we would ask Yaakov, who's the matriarch, what would he tell you?
Rachel.
And therefore, how many children does Rachel have? Two. And who are the chosen sons? Yosef and Binyamin.
Right.
Who's going to be the Bechor of the family? Yosef and Binyamin. And Leah's children and Bilhah and Shivcha's children, he'll take care of them. Give them presents like he did to Keturah's children and Hagar's children. But the chosen family is from Rachel. In fact, what does Yehuda say that his father said when he tries to, get Yosef's mercy, not really thanking Yosef? He says, Atem yadatem kishnaim yadali ishti. He quotes his father, and that's Yehuda quoting his father, that he says, my wife had 2 children. Who's ishti? Who's his wife? Rachel.
Right, implying one wife.
One wife, yeah. Now, I'm married to other people, but the chosen wife is Rachel, which explains why Yosef is so dear to him, because he's going to be the leader of the family. And Binyamin, of course, as well. Now, if something should happen to Yosef, how would Yaakov take it? Whoa, that would be devastating. And his last ray of hope would be Binyamin. And what I'd like to say is, he wouldn't let Binyamin play tackle football. He wouldn't send Binyamin on a class tiol.
Right.
He definitely wouldn't let him go to Chutz La'aretz. He'd watch him like a hawk, because that's his final hope. And in light of that, that explains almost all of Yaakov's behavior and his preference over the other children. In fact, now, what are Bnei Leah thinking? Bnei Leah have the same assumption, there's only one matriarch, but who's the matriarch? Their mother. And what's their proof? Just ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Look what God is doing to make sure that Leah is the chosen one. How did Laban pull that trick off? Remember, we talked about that before. That's got to be, we call hashgacha pratit. That's something special. How does God allow that to happen? In their eyes, God's doing everything. God's screaming, Leah is the chosen matriarch. And just Yaakov doesn't get it, but they understand it. That's why she has children in a minute, one after the next. And God doesn't want Rachel. That's why she's not having children. So at the end, he has mercy. And as soon as she comes to Israel, she dies. In the eyes of Leah's children, they're the chosen family. Reuven should be the firstborn, and there's 6 tribes. And that's the way it should be. And they're sure they're right. Now, as long as Yosef is playing with Bilhah and Zilpah's children, okay, they'll leave him alone. So the father, but the second he starts dreaming about being the only one and having these great dreams of grandeur, that's a danger. Now, if he knows his place, he'll be fine. But again, in the eyes of Leah's children, they're the chosen one. And Yosef becomes a danger when he starts dreaming, because that dream can ruin their understanding of the Bechira process. Because once you think you're the chosen ones, now, no one ever dreamt, pun intended, that everyone was chosen, and definitely not Bilhah and Zilpah's children. Who could ever dream of such a thing? How are they different than Keturah's children or Haggah's children?
Right.
No, only the, what I call the purebloods would be chosen. So once you understand that everyone thinks there's only room for one matriarch, it explains everyone's behavior. For example, why are the brothers so angry at Yaakov's silence after Dinah is raped? Because, imagine if it was Rachel's child. Right. And after Rachel dies, what does Reuven and the brothers expect Yaakov to do? He should take Leah to his tent. He takes Bilhah to his tent. He protests. Right. And that's why I think Pshat is the drash, that he didn't sleep with Bilhah, but he moved the beds around. But he slept with her.
Really think that's
put it this way. Reuven, it's not incest. It's not called arayot. He's not short a girlfriend, someone to sleep with. He's protesting his father's behavior. It's a protest what he's doing. Remember, when you sleep with the Pilegesh, it's a protest. That's what Avshalom does with.
But that's almost like a.
That's what Avner does with
Right. But it's a different sort of protest. It's like it's a protest of trying to stake your kind of rulership. Replacing the ruler by sleeping with.
I'm taking rulership. But I'm also protesting my father's behavior.
Right.
They're angry with their father, and for a good reason, because they're sure they're right. Once you're sure that you're the chosen family and it's only you, then anyone who's challenging that becomes a danger to the Jewish people. Now, therefore, his dreams cause the hatred, and they're sure the dreams are just dreams, because the sun and the moon doesn't make any sense.
Right.
He's just dreaming. He's a teenager. He's dreaming. But again, before he dreams, fine. When he starts dreaming, he tells these dreams to everybody. Well, they're really angry. Now, but they'll wait for the father to die. They'll get over it. But they're the chosen ones. When Yosef comes to check on them, remember, father sends them. It's his sheep. He's worried about them. Now remember, the distance from Hebron, where Yaakov is living with Yosef, and Shechem, where they're watching the sheep, is a 2-3 day walk, 3-4 day walk. They're coming home, maybe once a month or so. It's they're out for the whole season. Yaakov sends Yosef to check on them. The second they see him coming, what do? They're quick. Let's kill the guy. Remember, there's plan after plan, but when you watch their plans, they're always holding back a step.
So you're saying they weren't really planning on killing him?
I don't think so. I mean, remember, we should kill the guy, because it's the second there's another option, they stepping back. Why? They don't want to commit murder, that's clear.
Yeah.
Remember? Because they're Bnei Noach. Remember? Shavech dam adam b'adam damo yishafech. They don't want to commit murder, but they have to get rid of him because he's dangerous. So the easy way to get rid of him, let's kill him. Oh, let's let him die on his own. Or let's sell him. We'll see in a minute. But if you follow their plans, the second they see him, they plot to kill him. And then Reuben right away wants to save him. But what was their first plan? The first plan was to kill him, first-degree murder, and hide his body in the pit. And probably the most disturbing thing is, what was their plan? They would kill Yosef, hide his body in some pit, and they'd come home, wouldn't say anything. The father would come and say, hey, where's Yosef? What would they say? We don't know. And he would say, hey, I sent him to look for you, and we didn't see him. You follow?
Yeah.
And they would suggest that what? You know what must have happened? You sent him, a 17-year-old on that dangerous journey. He must have been eaten by a wild animal. And that suggestion is going to cause Yaakov to take the blame.
On himself.
On himself. Their plot is not just to kill their brother, but they're plotting, let's put the blame on daddy. You know, and that would be their cover-up.
Interesting.
That way he won't start asking questions. Now, Reuven has a plan to save him. What's Reuven's plan? He doesn't say, I want to save him, because they won't agree with him. Right. But he'll be held responsible, maybe. Maybe he wants to rebuild his family position. He wants to hide him in a pit, right? Telling his brothers, let's not commit first-degree murder. Remember? Al tishbechu dam. Put him in this pit in the desert, like about 10, 20-minute walk away, in the desert near Jenin. Dotan is near Jenin, not too far from the Gilboa. And he'll die on his own. Right. If he dies, that's his fault. But we didn't commit first-degree murder. If he dies, he dies. It's his problem. There's no water in the pit. You know, that's his problem. But it's not as harsh as first-degree murder. His hope is to go back and save him later on. Right. Now, if you read the psukim carefully, you need a map and
grammar murder.
Yeah,
you know, causes death indirectly,
but we didn't do it. And if God wants that, no, we're giving God a chance to save him, which He does, pretty much.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, one of the most difficult psukim or interesting psukim, they throw him in the pit. They take Reuven's plan, and of course, Reuven's going to go back later to save him. And right after they throw him in the pit, Vayeshev lecholachem, they sit down for a meal. Yeah, that's what that mitzvah. Doesn't bother them the least. Now, my assumption is, and I think you can prove it from the psukim, they don't sit down by the pit because that wouldn't fit Reuven's plan at all. They're sitting back in Dotan. Now, the pit is in the desert in the Midbar, maybe a half-hour walk away. They're sitting in Dotan eating their meal on some hill, beautiful hill, like it is, like we're sitting now. And you see from a distance, there's a caravan of Yishmaelim coming from the Gilad down to Egypt because they're caravanners. And then they have a new idea. Oh, if there's caravanners coming, they're selling, goods down to Egypt. We can sell them into slavery. We didn't commit murder, but we got rid of them. They don't want to commit murder. They don't want to kill the guy. They want him out of their life. Let's send him down to Egypt, and it's a win-win. And how could you say no to a plan like that? That was Yehuda's plan. Let's sell him. What did we gain by killing him? Let's sell him to the Ishmaelim.
So they're not out for financial gain.
No, they want to get rid of him. Right. They got plenty of livestock. They're fine with that. They don't need to make the money on him. But their goal is to get rid of him without killing him. And now they have a great plan. Now, what's interesting is, as they're discussing this plan to sell him, by chance, what's the Torah tell us? A different group of people, merchants, local merchants, Midyanim are like gypsy-type merchants in the area, they happen to pass by because they're on the way to meet this caravan that's coming down in Emek Yisrael. And by chance, they must have heard him screaming or something. And fluke, what happened? They hear him crying. It says the Midyanim pull him out of the pit. But the brothers are still eating, probably didn't get dessert yet. They pull him out of the pit, the Midyanim. The Midyanim sell him to the Yishmaelim on the way to meet them anyhow. And the brothers have no idea of what happened.
Interesting. I never picked that up. That it's actually the Midyanim that pull him out of the pit.
The psukim say so. That's why there's two groups. They have Anashim Midyanim Socharim. Socharim are merchants. Orchat Yishmaelim is a caravan. So now that's what's called hashkacha. That's God's divine providence over the story. They were talking about doing it. I don't think I guess push come to shove, pun intended. I don't think they would do it anyhow because they're always backing down. Remember, they saw him crying later on. But to their surprise, he's gone. Now, if you read carefully, Reuven is the first one back to the pit.
Hold on. What are you suggesting would have happened if these Midyanim would not have passed by?
I mean, Reuven had his plan to go save him.
Right. But you're saying the brothers are backing down. You think they would have like gone over and pulled him out again?
And then Reuben would have stopped him sooner or later, or someone would have talked sense into them.
So Joseph would have never ended up down in Egypt?
I don't think they would have done, again, you can ask questions. We'll see later what Yosef thinks in a minute. Mm-hmm. But their plan keeps on changing. And again, they don't want to kill him. They want to commit murder. But again, how can you do that to your brother? Right. No, Hashkacha, or providence, has it that he was sold down to Egypt because God's got a greater plan. That doesn't mean that the brothers did something good, but God's watching over our whole situation. Now, what does Yosef think? That's the most interesting thing. Yosef has no idea they wanted to kill him. He didn't hear that conversation. He had no idea they wanted to sell him. What's he know? They're teasing their brother. No, they don't. He knows they don't like him. Who he comes, they take off his coat, throw him in the pit. What's he assuming? They'll come back and get me an hour or two from now. We'll teach this guy a lesson.
Right.
No, it's called like teaching your little brother. So they want to teach this guy, just leave us alone. Quit bringing, lashon hara about us, your diba, your gossip, and just don't come back here again.
You really think so? Like Yosef, remember the brothers later on, when they're down in Egypt, they say, we're getting punished because we heard our brother crying out to us, and we ignored his cries.
We left him in the pit.
If you think he was gonna. He was expecting him to come back for him. Would he have cried so much? Like
when you teach your little brother, he cries. Don't they cry?
Yeah, but he's not so little. I mean, he's
17.
Right.
Okay. But he cried. Even an adult could cry in a situation like that.
Right. But if you think it's
what he tells the butler and the baker, mm-hmm. I was from Canaan and I was stolen. Ki gunuv gunafti meretz ivrim. He says I was stolen. Now later he tells the brothers, you're the one who sold me, but you caused me to be sold, as Rashbam explains. What I'm getting at is the brothers, what did they say? The brothers, Reuven is the first one to the pit. There's no reason for Reuven to leave the brothers. Mm-hmm. That the Midrash says he went back to learn with his father, but that doesn't make any sense because it will take a week to go back and forth to learn with his father. His whole plan is for the brothers to be away from the pit. He'd go back and save him. Reuven is the first one to the pit. It says, Vayeshev Reuven halabor, and Yosef's not in the pit because the Midianim took him, but he didn't know that. And Yosef babor. And he rips his clothes, his plan is ruined. Vayashav elachav, he returns to his brothers. It means the whole group is away from the pit where they're eating. Right. Reuven is the first one. He tells them, Ayeled eineno. Now, later when they go down to Egypt, what happens? They're under interrogation, and Yosef accuses them, you guys are spies. What's their cover story? No, we're not spies, we're brothers. Now, they go under interrogation, and he asks them, how many brothers are you? They can't lie under interrogation. Obviously, he split them up and interrogated them. What did they say? We're 12 brothers. One is back with daddy, Binyamin. Echad eineno. They don't say he was sold, he was killed, anything. They said echad eineno. That's all they know.
He's missing.
He's missing.
They don't know that he was sold.
They have no idea. They didn't read Chumash.
Interesting. So what seems to be this horrific behavior of the brothers, their plan to kill him, the horrific behavior of selling him. So you're saying that on the one hand, it's bad. This is the primordial sin offering. On the other hand, it's really not so bad because the thought of killing them wasn't really a serious thought, and the plan to sell him wasn't actually ever something that actually materialized because they were planning on selling him, or they thought about selling him to the Yishmaelim, but actually he was taken up by the Midianim, and they never actually were the ones that...
They actually never committed it, but I like to say no good. There's always good reasons for sinat chinam.
Right.
They're sure they're doing the right thing. But now, Yosef has to shake them up. Now, when Yosef tells them, I'm Yosef, your brother who you sold, it could be that Yosef thinks that they sold him. Because what's he know? Yosef knows that they threw him in the pit and someone took him out. So Rashbam says, you caused me to be sold. He follows that the brothers didn't sell Yosef, he and Chizkuni. But because Yosef says, Ani Yosef achichem, asher machartem oti Mitzrayma, that's why most commentators say that the brothers sold Yosef. But you can read the story carefully, and that's how Rashbam and Chizkuni explain, the brothers never sold him, and they're aghast. And it's, God's sort of teaching them a lesson, and it's the whole theme of tshuva. Remember, they say, little by little, they recognize their mistake, and they tshuva.
Right. Is that why Yosef seems to be toying with them? You buy that idea, I think it's the Rambam that says that he wanted to recreate the exact same situation they were in.
He says he wants them to do tshuva, which I agree with, but he doesn't. He's not playing God, he's playing leader. He wants them to redeem themselves. he wants to give them an opportunity to prove to themselves they learned their lesson. Because Yosef sets up a situation later on, that's later for Parshat Miketz, Vayigash, is that Yosef sets up a situation where they can dump Binyamin, and who cares, the father, and they're come off scot-free, or they can give up their entire livelihood for the sake of their father and their brother, which they have to that option. So they're totally turning around what they did with Yosef later on. So they're redeeming themselves so they can, Yosef wants to bring the family back together. Now, I want to tie this back to their dreams.
Go on.
Yosef was dreaming, and he had two dreams. Remember? The first dream was down to earth. We're down in the field collecting wheat, and we're doing a well feed. So I'm at the center of attention, but we're all there together.
Yeah.
And the second dream is up in the sky. There's 11 stars bowing down to him, and a sun and the moon, which means Yosef is also a star, maybe the North Star, where everyone is surrounding him. Remember, all the planets, all the constellations, all the stars go around the North Star.
He's just a person up in the sky, and there's stars.
Or could be. I think he's a star because up in the sky are stars, but they're all bowing down to him. And everyone thinks it's nothing because the sun and the moon, they assume is his father and mother, and his mother's gone. Remember, that's what Yaakov thought.
Yeah.
So he's not sure. And I think once he's sold, he gave up. He forgot his dreams because it says that he names Menachem, God abandoned me.
Right.
Yeah. Now, assuming they're arguing over who's the right matriarch, and Leah's children have a case, and Yaakov has a case, the fact that Yosef is sold and goes down to Egypt, what does Yosef think? He's unchosen.
Right.
And therefore he lives his life away from them. He's not chosen. Yishmael was sent away. Bnei Keturah was sent away. Esau was sent away. Okay. He's like the rest of them. He still believes in God. He's still a good person. But he doesn't reunite with his family because now, when his brothers come, then it says, then he remembered this dream.
Right. In
the meantime, he's got his doctorate in divination, doesn't he?
Right.
Remember, the butler baker got his first degree? You figured that one out?
Yeah.
You ever wonder why?
How does he interpret that dream?
Well, the baker has bread.
Yeah.
Okay. And the butler has grapes, making wine. What country is known for its bread?
Egypt.
What country is known for its wine?
I'm guessing
Israel. Mm-hmm. All the wineries are here, up in the hill country. Yeah. Egypt is known for its bread. 11. Now, what does Yosef see? The bread, the symbol of Egypt, is going to be lost, and the symbol of the land of Israel is going to come victorious. That's why I understand it. In other words, the Geffen is symbolizing the Jewish people and the land of Israel.
The fact that the baker ends up getting killed and that the butler makes it back up on top is symbolic of the idea that Egypt will eventually fall.
And Israel will
rise.
Right. It could be. That's my take on it. I'm not sure if you figured that out, or it turns out that way for sure.
Very nice.
There's no doubt that bread is a symbol of Egypt. Remember, there's a minister of baking in Egypt. I mean, it's because they invented leaven, and that becomes a symbol of Egypt. Bread.
Right.
Now then he solves Pharaoh's dream, gets him a nice job.
But hold on, one thing I never figured out is how does Yosef learn to interpret dreams? I mean, God doesn't seem to be talking to him. He doesn't seem to be, even interpreting his own dreams. In the beginning, it's his father and his brothers that do the interpreting for him. He just seems to be saying, I've had this awesome dream. Maybe he has an inkling about what it might mean, but...
Yeah. What does he mean when he says, Halo le'elohim pitronim? They say, is that like me? Or that's a Pharaoh thing. So, wow, this guy's like godly. He's got Ruach HaKodesh in him because he gets it right every time. So he has tremendous respect from them, but he sees God's hand in everything. Now, I think at this point when the brothers come and bow down to him, now he remembers this dream and he got it right now. I think this is the main point I want to get across. What was his second dream? The sun and the moon and 11 stars are bowing down. Now, no one understood the sun and the moon. In the meantime, who bowed down to Yosef before his brothers came? All of Egypt bowed down to him, right? Yep. Buying bread. All Mesopotamia came and bought wheat. So Egypt and Mesopotamia are bowing down to Yosef. Egypt has a sun god. Remember? Ra is the sun god. Their calendar is solar. Mesopotamia has a moon god. And their calendar to this day is lunar. And I think the sun and the moon bowing down to Yosef, that's Mesopotamia and Egypt, which Yosef could have never figured out when he first had the dream.
Interesting.
But now that he's actually accomplished that, now he understands that. And who are the 11 stars? His brothers, obviously. But what was God telling them? Do the math. 11 and he's number 12. Hey, we're all chosen. Now,
so that was the real message that Hashem was trying to tell them, that they're all chosen, which is the real source of the conflict. Had they just understood that,
they didn't have to fight. There was no reason for the Sant Chinam. There's room for 12 tribes. Mm-hmm. It's not only Leah's kids. It's not only Rachel's kids. It's even Bilhah and Shivcha's children are chosen. Mm-hmm. Everyone's chosen at that last stage. And there's room for, God wants 12 tribes. Now, I see this as a fulfillment of Yitzhak's original blessing, thinking both his children were chosen. Remember we went through this? Yitzhak thinks that both children are chosen. That's the way Ibn Ezra explains. He's blessing the nation. You should be a nation of prosperity. Remember the first blessing of you should be wealthy. Other nations should bow down to you. That second dream, your brothers will bow down to you within the family. But to other nations, other nations and kingdoms will bow down to you and respect you. And within the family, you're the one everyone looks up to.
And that Gavir La'achecha, as you said last time, was like, be a supporter for your brother.
Yeah, support and your leader. That's exactly what happened. Right. Now, with Yitzchak's blessing to Yaakov, thinking he was Esav, ends up becoming Yosef's dream. That's it. Those two blessings, Yosef's dream. And basically, Yitzchak was a generation off. Mm-hmm. And now, Yosef puts it together, and he sees, my job is not to be the only one. My job is to be the leader, the Bechor of the nation. I have to lead the nation, and my job is to unite the family. And therefore, the whole thing he does with hiding Binyamin's cup and doing all the tricks with them, he wants to help them do tshuva.
Beautiful.
Remember?
One thing that I love,
he wants to shake them up.
I would love about what you're implying is that the emphasis of the dream isn't just that everybody's bowing down to Yosef, but that everyone is a star and everybody's there, and everybody's included.
I mean, what did God say in Brit Ben Abtarim? You'll be like Kochvei HaShamayim L'Rov.
Right.
So we kept Kochvei HaShamayim almost becoming fulfilled.
Beautiful.
And now they're the Kochavim. Now, remember, we have 12 sons of Terach, of Nachor, in the first generation from Terach. Yishmael, 12. 12 is this magic number. There's tons of midrashim about it. 12 is built into nature, 12 months, 12 hours in the day, things like that. There's lots of midrashim that tie that together. But I think the bottom line message is, the way I understand it, there's a need for chosenness, and that's why God picks Avraham Avinu. There's a danger in chosenness that it makes you think that you're better than others. So at the first stage of chosenness, I have to be unique, just Abraham and just his children, just one wife, one child. When I finally get to the end of the choosing process, when I get to Yaakov, the name change to Israel, everyone's chosen, no matter how bad they are, how good they are, who their mothers are. That there's a danger in thinking you're better because you're chosen. You're chosen to be better. Again, not because you are better. And I think it's important at the last stage of the choosing process, we have different tribes, different backgrounds, different mothers, different yichus, different strengths, different weaknesses. Those are Yaakov's 12 blessings. Every Shevet has his own flag, and we all camp around the Mishkan later on. We have to be the model that different groups of people can work, just like different nations need to work together with a common goal to sanctify God and sanctify life. You can have different nations with different flags and different outlooks on life. So within the Jewish people, we have to be that sample of people with different outlooks on life, different approaches, and we can work together in the service of God, and we can be a model for other nations to learn. But there's a value in 12 tribes, and there's a value that come from different mothers and even from maidservants, because it's going to solve the problem of the danger of being chosen, of leading to haughtiness and thinking you're better than others, but the need to know that you're all chosen, you have to work together, but you're not better, you need to be better. And it can't be racist and, we're this special, this special genetic pool kind of idea. And therefore it's beautiful, it's important. God wants this to happen. How it comes about is what's called dual causation, where God's got a master plan and we fill into it. Right. We still do terrible things and we have to pay the price for it. But the overall picture is we have to learn from our mistakes. And it's a story about doing tshuva, which is, remember, the whole flood story began with Reach Nichoach, and God says he's going to learn from his mistakes, and man has to learn from his mistakes. So life, we have to be God's model nation, not just being perfect, but being a nation that knows how to learn from its mistakes, recognize when you're doing something wrong, and always be careful when you're sure you're doing the right thing, maybe it's not the right thing. Now, that humility that I'm sure this is what Am Yisrael needs, but other people in Am Yisrael think differently. So be dedicated to your opinion. The fact that you're sure you're right doesn't mean everyone else is wrong. And God wants us to argue maturely, but work together. I think it's a very important message today. Well, I'd like to say there's always good reasons for baseless hatred, and make sure not to fall in that trap. And that Sir Lachatat reminds us of that whole message of the Yosef story, and the bottom line of the story.
Amen. Thank you very much. Beautiful. And we all merit to have achdut and ahavat chinam and learn the message.
And it's easier said than done.
Easier said than done, indeed. And refuah shlema for your nephew. Shkoyach. Thank you very much. Shabbat shalom. Thank you for joining us. Please like, subscribe, share, and wishing you all a Shabbat shalom.